Up for a cheat. Some good news this week. I looked for some. I couldn't find much. Was there... who was it in there? In the Discord who asked for some folks and good news? It's doing that thing where shortens, like Discord shortens the name to just one letter. That's useless to me. It's Big Lawrence. Oh, about the bots. Yes, I have fixed it, I think. Yeah. On this week's show, we're discussing the Xbox reset is official with closures and restructures. Black Flag sets sail once again, and Mario turns 40. The old bastard. All that and much, much more on this week's GamerGuild Podcast. I wanted to chuck something funny in there, just anything. Good game, everyone, and welcome back to the GamerGuild Podcast, your weekly show where we round up all the week's video game stories and news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/GamerGuildTV and up there in the digital clouds on your podcast preference of choice. Podcast players for this week are the Arcane Rogue, Mr. Chris. True, we're getting there. We're closer to 40 than 30. And that's it for the GamerGuild Podcast. I'm going to be depressed now. Good news. I saw in our Discord server, which actually before I get into anything, I have tried to fix the spam bots. I don't know if it's worked yet. I think I've put like a thing on where they have to answer a few questions when they join to get approval. Two very basic questions. There's no right or wrong answers. It's more there, but that's probably a good question. I should probably fix that. But I just thought I can't even remember what questions were. They just Discord suggests someone, that'll do. Because the idea is just to put something in there so a person has to physically answer a question to get approval. So yeah. No, absolutely not. So I have finally got around to looking into that. That's something I've been meaning to do for a while. I know Big Lawrence in our Discord server, links in the description below, asked for positive news. There you go. I've tried to look for some more. I've struggled. But generally, it was like I was looking. What news have we got this week? Black Flag. Okay, good news. Ubisoft have to go ruin their own party of it, but we'll get into that. But yeah, Xbox is the big one. We do have a great podcast lined up for you, but before we get into it, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell so you're kept in the loop of all the fantastic content here at GamerGuildTV, such as, Chris, you have been playing... Yeah. So, because you got a code from Ubisoft, you won't have got the physical version, will you? So the physical pre-order comes with a digital art book and a map, a pull-out map, because my partner bought it. No, the physical version has a physical map and a physical art book in. She didn't buy it. That wasn't a deluxe edition or anything. That was just a pre-order version. Yeah. Yeah. I yeah. What? Ah, fair. Well, with the PlayStation news, yeah, definitely though, stuff like that will go up in price. What was this week's retro hunt anyway? Yeah. All right, Tomb Raider, public. Okay. Yeah. He bought the wrong game. Yeah, makes sense. As for me, I have 100% control. I've got 100. I already had the platinum, but I've completed both DLCs. That last fight against Marshall in the Foundation DLC absolutely sucks. So it's when you go down the cave system, it's like, no, it's just a person. She's a person. She has like a pretty much the same abilities as you, but she keeps summoning enemies. And you know when it's like, one of the things that always annoyed me about controllers, sometimes enemies would just spawn on you, but some enemies would explode on contact. And you know when it's like, it feels unfair if you spawn an enemy in right behind me, and because it's immediately behind me, it explodes straight away and takes off most of my health. So it took quite a few goes, and then my collectible trophy bugged. So I was missing one collectible. Luckily, there's a fix where you can just basically reload on the chapter select, go to any of them, and pick up one more collectible, and it should work. People recommend, yeah. So people recommend that you back up your save. I didn't. I just rolled the dice on it because I don't have PlayStation Plus, so it means I can't use cloud saves. So I was like, well, either this is going to work or I'm going to abandon this trophy and just accept I'm going to have one trophy missing because of a bug. And it works, but... Yeah, it's an ID cards. No, that's FBC Fabric. Yeah, there is a room in the base game control where it does have loads of post-it notes, but there's not much to do in there. I think it's just a few collectibles. Yeah. Yeah. Pragmata. Yeah, it's installed, and I'm going to start it tomorrow. Yeah. 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 It's too much water. Yeah, it's like, it's one of them with, I do want to play Alan Wake 2 before Controlled Resonant, so I'm thinking maybe Pragmata, then Alan Wake 2, but then we'll have to see where it is, because Wolverine comes out in September, so it's going to be Wolverine before Controlled Resonant for me anyway. But then I'm also holding out for news for Ocarina of Time. If that ends up being September as well, it's probably going to be Ocarina of Time, Wolverine, then Control. So it's... Yeah, there's loads of stuff to play at the moment. Talking about stuff to play, Chris, I think it's time that you introduce us to the news. And as always, the news is brought to you by our wonderful guild heroes, which you can join for as little as 99p over on the YouTube channel. Get early access to either Dino Crisis or Tomb Raider Retro Hunt. Don't know which, one or the other, but you would have had the other the week before anyway, so there you go. First news item, Chris. Oh, us. Oh, yeah. We did. Well, yeah, thank you very much. It's one of them. I feel like we're out of the pit of the algorithm that we were in, because for years we've stuck about 2 to 2.5. And since the turn of the year, we've went up over 3,000. We've more than doubled our subscribers since the start of the year. Maybe that's it. It was like YouTube kept pushing this podcast to cloud gamers when they're going, but you don't talk about GeForce Now much, or Shadow, or Luna. It's like, because there's never any news that's interesting. Bruce, oh God. Yeah. Yeah. They did. Really good game. But the thing is, it's that news item alone is not really newsworthy. There's not really much to say there. It's like, we've done stuff before where it's like, oh, this game's come to Switch, and went, that's nice. It's been out in other places for 5 years. It's usually when there's like a big game comes, no disrespect to Dispatch, because that game's awesome, but yeah, Dispatch coming to Luna is not really a huge story. But it's a good news thing. It's good news. More games, more places. It's what we want. Does it just have a rotating cast of characters? Sorry, I know very little about that game. Okay. Sonic Mania, good game. Good game. You know what else is a great game? Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced. Chris, you've played it? Because Didn't it have like the like DLC? No, it wasn't DLC. Like raid warships. So it was online only to beat them. Yeah. Yeah. You know what? They've done a remaster of free. There's a remaster of free you can do. Yeah. I've seen my partner go for the platinum and that. There's on your homestead there's some trophies that you need to get, but which are just random. You just have to be lucky. Which checking to see a specific embassy does the specific and then observe them. Then there's the mini games which ends just boring. But anyway, we're not talking about Assassin's Creed 3. We're talking about Black Flag. So my history with Black Flag, I played it, I really enjoyed it. I remember distinctly one weekend, it's like, right, I've got nothing to do, I'm going to play Black Flag. I spent all of the Saturday just doing all the side content I could find, absolutely tons, and went, Sunday, right, here we go, time to progress the story. So I'd upgraded my ship loads, but then I got halfway through it, like, you know, when you get like a string of story missions, like one goes on the other, goes on another, and then usually you do a main thing at the end, and it gives you a bit of a break to explore the world. I got about halfway through one of them, sailed out to sea to meet up with Blackbeard, and he turns around and goes, you haven't upgraded your ship in the right way. And I just went, nah, bullshit, and just could not be asked for it after that. So I never finished it. No, but my annoyance was, if I knew I needed to upgrade that particular part of my ship for a mission, I would have done so. But the game gave me no indication that I needed to do that. So it's like one of them was that I've just spent hours and hours and hours doing loads of side content, cleaning up a loads of different towns and stuff, doing some side missions, upgrading my ship, upgrading my town. I was like, well, I've upgraded the wrong stuff. So I was like, you know, it's like that just annoys you. And it's like, If it might have been the RAM that I needed, where it's like I don't use it, so yeah. So I always meant to go back, but then it's like after I got that mission, it's like I can't be bothered today, and then I just never went back to it. I think something else took my attention away. So oh yeah, first look. Yeah. Which was weird. Because it was on PS3, yeah. Was it Freedom Cry? Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I bet you internally they've had conversations about that, but when Assassin's Creed will sell the game, Pirates Creed might not. Yeah. 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 Which it worked well through Desmond's era because it was you were backwards and forwards. Stuff was happening in the present and the past, although most of the gameplay was in the past. From from Black Flag though, they got rid of Desmond, wasn't it? It went first person when you're out of the Animus, and you were just kind of walking around Abstergo offices, reading emails. And I stand by a future storyline could work well, but you need to do it properly. You can't half-ass it, and that's where they went wrong. They've they moved it away. They half-assed it, and because they half-assed it, it made it worse. And went ugh. Even Desmond, I always think they never fully got to. You never really got to play as Desmond breaking into somewhere as a master assassin after the bleeding effect and letting off Ezio and Altair. You never fully got that. It was never fully realised. But yeah, they're there. They're there largely to explain why weird stuff happens. Layla? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So they have made some changes to how the gameplay plays out, but all the changes seem to largely be for the better, would you say? The way you describe them, like I'd say, yeah, everything seems to be an improvement because the diving bell challenges were kind of boring, and the yeah, yeah, which it it made sense, but Black Flag still had the old Assassin's Creed swimming where you're pretty much just on the surface and could just go underneath to hide, but then the camera didn't ever really go underneath. Where now you can go full swim underwater, explore the depths of the Caribbean to your heart's content. The word Mercer, Mercer? I don't know why. I don't even know what that is. Yeah. Yeah, it's Matt Ryan. Yeah. So, Game Rant also gives it a 90. At its best, Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced firmly establishes the formula for new remakes in the franchise, if not what all new Assassin's Creed games in 2026 and beyond should feel like. At its absolute bottom of the ocean worst, it's a reminder of what the Assassin's Creed franchise, the beloved game series, was in the first place. It seems like we haven't even mentioned stealth. Stealth, you can actually use stealth properly in this game. It's not a kind of afterthought where from it started going, especially with Odyssey and very much into Valhalla. Stealth was just like, yeah, it's kind of in there, but take 2 acts and hit this person. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do think with Shadows, I started going back in the right direction. Like reintroducing stealth, I actually think they would have been better off because they had 2 protagonists in stealth in Shadows. Just going with narrower, just focus on just the stealth and go. No, it's a stealth game. We don't need a big guy running in, and I think most people did because when I watched Nat play, it's like most of the game seemed to be focused around hair. But when you get this distinct impression that Ubisoft put the other Yasuke, I think his name was, put him in there because they were scared that some people might not like stealth mechanics. Like, so they've found a compromise. An interesting one, admittedly, but yeah, I hope they do go back and start remaking the other games and start taking the franchise forward in a good direction. Where I think with Shadows, I didn't like the stupid circle things and no real quests or anything, no real structured story. But other than that, there's a lot in that game that's good. But one should be next. But yeah, yeah, uh, Yeah, unfortunately, just after the release of Black Flag, Ubisoft Barcelona had 51 members of staff laid off. It's like, oh, come on, guys. Like, they've just finished. Well, which, my point though, it doesn't make sense because, like, okay, this game is, we don't know what sales like, it's too early to tell, but it's reviewing really well. It's probably going to sell well. Why not use that studio to go, okay, guys, Assassin's Creed 1, remake it, go. You've proven you can do it. Like, do you not like money? Like, but I suppose it is a general thing with project work where at the end of a project people do actually leave, but that is typically not layoffs in the common sense. That's a case of you've been contracted to a project, that project is over. But I don't know, it's like, could you not just stomach holding on to these people for a couple of months to let the game like shine without just a couple. It's just one of them. Like, someone at Ubisoft must be screaming, going, "You couldn't have kept them on for 2 months, just 2 months." Like, no. Were you talking about the Xbox bloodbath? Or as I like to call it, the reset. Yeah, so basically what has just happened, 3,200 members of staff have just lost, either lost or losing their jobs. I think it's 1,600 immediately, and a further 1,600 at some point this year. On top of that, yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, but yeah, so this year there will be 3,200 layoffs in total. Planned, 1,600 have already went as of last Monday. We knew it was coming, but yeah. Yeah. I think it's smart because this information's coming out anyway, so better, from a business perspective, better to just send the email, publish it for the world to see, rather than coming out drips and drabs and having loads of speculation, loads of leaks, and like Jason Schreier going, I've heard a little bit, but I don't know the full story. Then the rest of the world spends a week talking about it, just go over it. This is what's happening. Yeah. It's what she was hired to do. We knew this. She's been hired to be absolutely cutthroat in this role, to really gut it and start fresh. The issue is like 1,600 people lost their jobs last week, and another 1,600 are going to lose their jobs in the next couple of months. On top of, there's no guarantee this reset will even work. This could, as you're saying, could just tank your brand. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think this is exactly what happened. I think no, it's a corporate position. She's now she took this job to become a CEO. That's what's happened here with Phil. I feel it's like he's held off Microsoft as long as possible with the way things are going, and what Microsoft are doing with AI is completely detrimental to Xbox. They're demanding too much but not giving enough. Admittedly, they give a lot of money to help buy things like Activision Blizzard and Bethesda, but yeah, just a little bit. But these haven't had a chance to really. We said at the time, this is a multi-generational outlay. You don't get this back overnight. It feels like Microsoft should have understood that, and if they did understand that, have changed their mind anyway. So I do think you're right. I can see Microsoft getting more involved. Since Activision Blizzard, it has been reported, Microsoft are getting more involved in Xbox, which is probably put Phil in a situation going, I don't like the direction. Sarah Bond was probably been groomed to be his successor anyway. Did she leave her own accord immediately? Oh, yeah. 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 It's been heavily reported. Everything in Xbox was hair baby, which I feel like I bet you Phil's plan was, see out the 25th, already start transitioning stuff over to Sarah Bond. Sarah Bond takes over after the 25th anniversary. Yeah, so, and it feels like, okay, Microsoft probably had a disagreement with Sarah Bond. Asher Sharma's like ready. They want to promote her because she's been doing good stuff with AI as far as Microsoft's concerned. The rest of the world maybe disagrees, but so it feels like Phil's probably I'll stay on as a consultant because he's probably contractually obliged to. They probably can't just get rid of him without a massive payoff. So why not just transition his role to consultancy role, which is probably why he's been quiet, because he's probably not actually working. But they were making a strong comeback. It just didn't take off. Yeah. Yeah. I so I just no, she won't be. So she'll see the launch of Helix. When that fails, she'll bugger off. She'll rejoin the AI team. But what you can just kind of see it happening after the Xbox One generation. Microsoft had lost ground on PlayStation. Microsoft opened their checkbooks, especially when it looks like the industry was going through massive growth during COVID, and went, compete, we're going to back you to do it. They've backed him financially, and when they didn't see overnight success, they've moved the goalpost and went, we've spent too much money, now we need to, you're not making enough profit. And Phil's probably sat there like, well, yeah, give this chance. We're not going to it's going to take the full generation plus to get closer to PlayStation, and yeah, the industry stopped growing as quite quick. There was a lot, I think, to be honest, what's really fucked this industry is COVID. There was a lot of investment into the industry in COVID from people who were trying to make money, not people who were passionate about games. And when the industry slowed down, because COVID was a massive spike in growth, because a lot more people going back to gaming, but then a lot of these people have moved back, and the world continued to fall to shit. People's finances get even more stretched, so people spending on games who are still involved in games is declining. the industry's shrinking, and these people going, well, where's my money? I was wanting to make a lot of profit off this. And at no point has Ashish Sharma or anyone at Microsoft said that Microsoft are losing money. It's always been, we're not making enough money. It's great. It is. Like, you are making money. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, go for it. Yeah. No. They... Again, I come back to some key sentences here. While those businesses have created meaningful value, they did not grow at the pace we expected. So you didn't make enough money, but you still made money. This is where I keep coming back to. It's like, but we're not making enough money. Like, we're not repaying that investment quick enough. But something like the Activision Blizzard King deal should be seen as a long-term investment paid over of a long time. It's like buying a house. You don't buy a house to pay off in 5 years. You take 25. Like... I haven't got a clue. Yeah. No, but you have to wonder how much investment into the studios, so which is probably a huge chunk of that has gone immediately. Then there's operation overheads like running the Xbox servers and stuff, all that investment in the cloud gaming. Like, no. Yeah, but I, and I feel like we have to remember at the start of this generation and the end of the last one, there seemed to be a complete black hole of Xbox titles, Xbox first party titles. We were waiting for years because Phil had this idea of, it was even before COVID, I think, one tentpole title a quarter. And it feels like that never came to pass. So it's like, well, you're talking about not enough growth, but you haven't produced the content to draw people in. Like things like Redfall, complete miss. Starfield, unfortunately, did feel like it was a game from a previous generation. Like, but Halo was very much at a low point at that point. But if you look at what PlayStation was doing in the end of the PS3 into the PS4 area, you had things like Uncharted, you had Last of Us, you had Horizon, you had Spider-Man, you had Ghost of Tsushima, you had Chris's The Wall Behind Chris. Yeah, Days Gone, yeah, which was one of the lesser hits, but actually was still profitable. They had the steady run of games through that same point where Xbox was producing nothing or producing some of the games that we still revere today on top of third party. Mm-hmm. Because indie games are inherently higher risk than legacy IP. Because you could have someone producing an indie title for a couple of years, invest a couple of million pounds into it, and it sells no copies. A legacy IP, Halo, will almost certainly recoup what it earns, even if it's not reviewed well. But isn't this in equivalent with PlayStation? Isn't this what Shuhei Yoshida does now? He heads up the PlayStation before he previously headed up the PlayStation indies because they identified they needed a specific approach on the studios, which Xbox could do this. Like, yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, with Xbox at least keeping the IP and Xbox seemingly the numbers haven't been released, helping cover the bills for a little period of time. Yeah, that's it might be a monthly payment or something that's reducing over the next couple of years or something like that. Yeah. 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 And the transition will be just like, well, they're not going to go independent overnight, but they'll have a set deadline of when they will go independent, and they need to start working on their own corporate infrastructure, separate to Xboxes, stuff like that. Yeah. It. Oh yeah, IO, not it. It's part of Bethesda. No, it's a rare occurrence actually, where like a studio leaves a big like corporation like Xbox or PlayStation and goes independent and is successful. Usually, they get bought, doesn't work, and they get shut down. Yeah, yeah, I suppose that. Yeah, it's Bungie or the Fallen Giant. They're like people like oh god, yeah, that would be the smart move to secure the studio. But I feel like the industry needs someone like Double Fine, where things like Kiln and Keeper are not going to be for everyone. They always get reviewed really well. Yeah, it depends on the that nest egg and stuff coming from Microsoft. Depends what that runway is, but it does feel the safe bet would be a Psychonauts 3. That would be your best. Like get that would be kind of you'd have to weigh up as a CEO because you want a team like Double Fine. They want to be creative, but then you have to weigh that up against. Well, actually, should we just do Psychonauts 3 for the next few years? Get that out, secure our future as an independent studio, and use the profit proceeds of that to go back to being crazy. And also, we can have a small team working on stuff on the side, just keep do things like game jams and stuff, riff ideas, so you have that content pipeline keep ticking over in terms of ideas, even if they don't establish full games. I I'm more worried about compulsion than Double Fine, to be honest. If so, my understanding is they're keeping their IP, but Microsoft will probably be still counted as the publisher. So it'll be Microsoft will get some as the publisher, and they get some as the owner of the IP. But you could argue because now they're independent and small and don't have the corporate overlords breathing down the neck with ideas, they can just take an idea, run with it, and get something out quicker. For smaller studios, that sometimes can work much quicker than in a big corporate structure, even with the same people. Yeah. 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 Well, physical editions need to make a comeback, and not just because of the PlayStation thing. Because I looked at the other day when I was thinking, like, is it definitely pragmatic I want to play? It's like, actually, I've always wanted to play Avowed. I played a bit on Xbox Game Pass. I think there was other stuff take my attention away, so I didn't play as much as I wanted. No physical version on PlayStation, so I'm not buying it, and that is going to be my stance right now for games. No physical edition, I'm not buying it until I'm forced otherwise, and until something like a game that I really want to play comes out. This is the problem. I know, yeah, it will get me. I am just going in, but I'm going to avoid buying digital games because I think everyone should do the same. Like, because if you want physical media to exist, you need to buy it. And you know what? Buy second hand as well. There was well, Push Square did one of their polls that they always do, and I think it's something like 40% of people said they were moving from PlayStation to PC. Yeah, that's 40% of people who read Push Square on that particular article, so that's probably about 0.5% of PlayStation people, fans. Yeah. Yeah. So, Ninja Theory. With the amount of motion capture involved in them games as well, it's not like they can reuse animations and assets. I think Ubisoft could actually. Ubisoft because the yeah. Honestly, this feels like a fire sale, so there might be a bargain had. I think so Ubisoft. I could probably go for both, but I feel like Ninja Theory should not be under Ubisoft. I think their production values of the games way outstrip anything Ubisoft have ever done. Well, I think that's what I said when with rumours, but it would be weird for Xbox to sell to PlayStation, considering their whole thing is they're trying to claw back. They have, but You know what? EA have been quite quiet, really, on the whole shutting. Yeah. Which that means the Saudi investment fund could be investing. So maybe this is one of the reasons why. This might be why it haven't been talked about. Why the potential owners haven't been talked about, because my Xbox might be under non-disclosure. So they can't, because that deal hasn't went through. But when that deal goes through, Ninja Theory and Undead Labs become part of that purchase. I don't think so. If they're getting bought up by the Saudi investment fund, they're not buying them to not invest. They can't. It's different though. That's due to the Premier League rules. They can't. Like, I think they've got one more shot at it, and because it's announced, I would make Senua free, but like give them actually just fully back them. Go right. We're going to give you the budget and the time to make the absolute best Senua game you can do. Learn your lesson from where I think people didn't really like 2 as much, and go right. We want a bit more action, a bit more complexity in the combat, but still feel like a Senua game. Because the combat in the Senua games is a bit basic, so like just give them that runway to do it, and kind of just go right. Let's see what you can do. Have they ever? Games developed Kung Fu Chaos on the Xbox, Heavenly Sword PlayStation 3. Then they've done some Devil May Cry and Disney Infinity stuff. Then it was Hellblade. Not Nintendo, yeah. Yeah, Nintendo tend to do that when like they work closely with someone, and then Nintendo don't do a lot of purchases actually. I think they just tend to like build their own studios from the ground up. Yeah. Embracer could be in the mix. Senua game engine. You think it could be Epic? Unreal 5. Yeah, it is an Unreal 5. But Epic don't really produce games too much outside of Fortnite, obviously. But actually, I suppose I'm actually wrong in that. Alan Wake 2 was published by Epic. Yeah, published, yeah, but this is what we're talking about, a publisher. Well, again, this could be the Ubisoft one, to be honest. If Ubisoft, I feels Ubisoft love the games as a service, even when it doesn't necessarily need to be. State of Decay doesn't have the full-on insane production values as something like a Ninja Theory game does, but it's still good. I think it could fit nicely into the portfolio for Ubisoft. It's an established IP. It's not competing with anything else Ubisoft have, really. No. And again, I think because my Xbox are not going to be asking a huge amount for these studios. These are going to be they're going to be heavily discounted in order to get them off Xbox's books. If you look at things like Double Fine and Compulsion going independent, they're happy to give these companies money to go away, effectively. Yeah. Yeah. It goes back to my rant earlier in the show where it's down to greed. I know a lot of people might disagree. It's not all about greed, but ultimately you're seeking to make more and more money in this infinite growth, which is just not going to happen in a finite universe. You can't have infinite growth in a finite universe. It just doesn't exist. But because of that, you make decisions to pursue that. It's the Google "Don't be evil" slogan. Google used to have a slogan "Don't be evil," but they got rid of it because in order to continue to grow, they had to become evil. No, because cloud compute. No, we're not doing that anymore. We're going to focus on AI. Yeah. It's... yeah, let's not get back into that. Ubisoft could be good shout, but I think it's unlikely. I'm thinking probably someone like Tencent or... Yeah, like... things like Embracer could do stuff. Could be something in there. But Embracer also are keep trying to break into that AAA, and something like A State of Decay 3 is one of the games I feel just straddles that AA to AAA thing. A good one could actually push into you could argue AAA. But yeah. It's French law. It's like Jason Schreier's talked about this, and there's French laws that they can't just do shit with this. They have to go through consultations and yeah, you can't just sack 3,000 people in France on a whim. Yeah. I don't know. I feel there might be hope. There might be hope in like Disney. You know what? They're making a Blade game. Let's just buy them ourselves. what's the irony of all these studios going to somewhere like Apple, and Apple going, this is our opportunity, get in. A lot. Well, this is something we haven't talked about with the layoffs, where 1,600 people have already been laid off. There's another 1,600 this year. How many people who have survived this are looking at it and going, I could lose my job in the next year. I'm going to start looking for another job. You bleed your talent when you do stuff like this. I've said it loads of times. I've seen it happen in schools when the academies took over and like they're doing restructures, and what tends to happen is your good staff who you want to stay jump ship because their job's no longer secure and they've got families to feed, so they go take another job that's more secure. So the industry will be losing talent because someone who works at one of the studios, take id Software, half the team's been cut after the launch of Doom: The Dark Ages. Someone who works in the studios where that's based might just turn around and go, well, I was a programmer in Doom: The Dark Ages. I'm going to leave the video game industry and just work as a software programmer on something completely not related to games because it's more secure. And I don't want to uproot my family. Yeah. Yeah. Well, the culture of the place. Like, I'm going to read senior gameplay systems programmer Michael Maynard post on LinkedIn. So he's from id. I was part of the team, roughly 50% of the company that was let go today. I was there over 20 years, raged through Doom Dark Ages. Sad, but I've been doing this video games for over 40 years, so not a huge surprise to me. Just really sad that this is how id Software, the pioneer innovator of FPS action games, is relegated to just another reorganisation of assets. Someone who has been in the video game industry for 40 years and been at id for 20 years, which, as a senior programmer, he will have seen the rehabilitation of the Doom franchise and probably worked on things like Wolfenstein. Yeah, but when you talk about culture, it's people like Michael Maynard you want to keep in your company. But he's just a nail to Asher Sharman and the guys at Microsoft. He's just a name on the spreadsheet that can just be deleted. Over 20 years at id, 40 years in the industry, gone. In an email. Well, you even got one. Yeah. 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 14 years of management, I will give it, is ridiculous. There's clear if what she says here is true, that some restructuring of the management layers needs to happen. But I'm guessing this is where she's probably talking about things like ZeniMax, where say id Studios is owned by Bethesda, which is then owned by ZeniMax, which is then owned by Xbox, which is then owned by Microsoft. So, yes. And if that's, which hypothetically your concept artist working on a game for id for Doom the Dark Ages 2, you've drew an environment. This looks fucking amazing. Let's build a level out of this. You hand it to your boss, who hands it to their boss, who hands it to their boss, who hands it to their boss, and 6 months later, so everyone's completely forgot that this environment was even created, and someone goes, "Oh, we need some new environments," and you go, "I'd sent one up the pipeline." So I do get that this needs to happen. But again, when there's mass layoffs, it's hard. It feels like this isn't targeted. And again, as I talk, Michael Maynard feels like he's one of the people you want to keep. But so going into that 1 billion people, that's not doable without Xbox doubling down on mobile. Yeah. Again, she has part of the restructure is King and what was the other one? There's two. Oh, King and Mojang are going to be reporting directly to Asher Sharma now. That's fair. Instead of having these under Activision structures and moving them separate, but that one, we're going to target 1 billion means she's more interested in the mobile, I think. But I don't view the mobile gaming industry as the same as the console gaming industry. There's overlap, but I think these are so disparate. The demographics are completely different, and this is where I think you're potentially going wrong. So you're going to start seeing Halo mobile games, guys. Well, again, that's. I think the 1 billion is just a reference to mobile, where things like Candy Crush and stuff come in. But yeah, well, it is slightly better than last year's. Yeah, that's what it is. But I think when it comes to the best franchises, my thoughts immediately lean over to the Bethesda studios, and with things like Elder Scrolls and Fallout, which Obsidian apparently. Oh yeah, there you go. There's one for you. Obsidian have been told that they need to cancel Avowed 2 in favour of a Fallout title. Yeah. Yeah. True, but it's one of them. Avowed, I don't think Avowed did poorly, but it's just in that Game Pass blur where like it just, yeah. So I'm not against Obsidian working on a Fallout, but this is very much Todd Howard must be pissed right now because he's Bethesda have always been quite protective of the IP, and now basically Obsidian, who have previously worked on a Fallout title, have been told that they have to work on one. And when Todd Howard is looking at going, well, Elder Scrolls 6 is the next big thing for us, and then we've already spoken publicly about Fallout will be after that. So, yeah. I, yeah. Yeah, I don't think a Fallout game needs that. That helps, but Obsidian working on a Fallout title, that's probably what 4 or 5 years away anyway. So the Amazon Prime TV show's long gone by then. But what I love about this Obsidian news is they're still going to work on Avowed 2, even though it's been officially cancelled. While they wait, because it's been because they have people with nothing to do otherwise. Because what they're working on, we're cancelling that. So while they start concepting like a Fallout title, it's like we might as well just crack on with Avowed. So I yeah, I love that attitude. I just love that attitude where they're kind of going, fuck off, we're still going to work on this. we will do a Fallout. Management said we have to do Fallout, we're going to do Fallout. But while we've got time, guys, let's just crack on. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like, you know what? Go listen to Jason Schreier. He started doing YouTube stuff and he breaks it all down. This is where most of these articles are coming from anyway that we're reading from. But it does. Toys for Bob would love to work on a Banjo-Kazooie game further down the line after Spyro. Makes perfect sense until they get shut down by Xbox. Yeah. Yeah. Which, yeah, that's a good place to be. Yeah. So I can see. I mean, this does link back into the Xbox stuff. I can see Asha Sharma because she wants to double down on the key IP. As long as Sea of Thieves is doing numbers, she'll be quite happy for Rare to tick over. And I don't think I've seen anything about Rare being affected by her current cuts. There might be in the next half. It might be in the next half of the cuts, but I don't think I've heard anyone report that Rare have currently affected. I cannot see her looking at Banjo-Kazooie when that's a moneymaker. I think it's a beloved franchise. On the N64 it was. It had its moment of shine and it's done basically nothing since. This is where, if she's smart, what she'll do is go, we will quite happily license this out to Toys for Bob. We're not going to sell the IP because why would you sell it? You license and just go, like, yes, you can make a Banjo-Kazooie game. You need to go find someone else to fund it and we will take 10% of your profit. And then for Xbox, that's just free money, basically, because the IP is not doing anything else. And you just have someone keep an eye on what they're doing with the IP. $10 million. Oh, not bad. Well, Crash did the same thing. Yeah, didn't Crash did like the Crash remix? Yeah, but the Insane Trilogy did well. So obviously you're going to get more nostalgia for the Insane. Yeah, you're obviously going to get more copies sold for the Insane Trilogy than Crash 4 because it's a legacy title. It's got nostalgia wrapped up in it. And a lot of people who have bought it who they're not really interested in Crash 4, just want to go back to their childhood. But yeah, Spyro seems like perfect picking. Banjo, if they do Banjo well, maybe Banjo needs a remake of like the first like two Banjo games from the N64. Maybe it needs that treatment to reignite it. Yeah. Yeah. And I think I said at the time when they were talking about the Activision Blizzard deal, like what they should do is they should segment Activision these games out of the Activision into under their own banner because they get lost in the shuffle with the likes of Call of Duty. Let Activision focus on Call of Duty and give another like banner, like another like company set up to manage these IP and the things like the Tony Hawk games, the stuff that don't sell the Call of Duty numbers, and the Activision focus on Call of Duty, Blizzard focus on Diablo, World of Warcraft and StarCraft, and then you have something else to take care of these, so that then it's the expectation is set correctly, and that you have a manager looking after a portfolio that doesn't see this as a waste of time because it does nowhere near Call of Duty. But at some point, though, you run the risk of doing what Ubisoft did to Assassin's Creed, whereas like sometimes the scarcity of these games is what makes it special. It's why people still play Skyrim now. because it's good. It's still a good game. We are ready for the next one, and they need to shorten that lifespan. There should be at least one of these games per generation. Should be at least every generation should have at least one new Fallout, one new Elder Scrolls. But I don't think you need more than that if it's a good game. Well, we are, of course, talking about Nintendo. They're discontinuing the original Switch from February 2027. Yeah, it is, but I don't think this is necessarily a bad news story. The Switch 2 is already on the market. Their transition over. Switch 2 is fully backwards compatible. This was inevitable. And with how many Switches out there in the wild, if you haven't got one now, what have you been waiting for? Yeah. 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 Yeah, basically because of EU laws, things now have to have replaceable batteries, which was built. It didn't. So it means I think from February they can no longer produce them for EU sale. Other like places, well, as long as they're selling, they'll keep producing. But to be fair, I think that's unlikely, to be honest, now the Switch 2's out. Oh, yeah, actually, I think it's going to win. I think it is going to surpass it then. I think it can happen. Like, yeah. Yeah, this is all... It's not just consumers, it's environmental stuff as well. It means, like... Yeah. Yeah. And to wrap things up, Mario's turning 40. Now he's turning 40. And to celebrate, as part of the celebrations, Nintendo have released a pin set. I found some good news! I think it's officially next year. So, yeah. So the original Super Mario Bros. Was launched on the NES in 1987. So this is part of the plans for the 40th anniversary. But I was looking for something positive. So there's a pin set. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And you can get a T-shirt with the 40th logo on, which I personally wouldn't because I think it looks terrible. But yeah, but you don't really mind dating when it's an anniversary special edition thing. It's kind of the point. But that's all we have time for you on the news this week. We like to round up the show every week with this day in video game history, starting on July the 10th. I suppose the original first Armored Core was out, but I've never played it. 11th. Oh. Yeah, I was going to shout. Same as everything else. I was going to shout out Street Fighter 2 Turbo on the SNES. July the 12th. Come on, give me something. Give me something. Octopath Traveler on the original Switch. There we go. There's a bloody good game for you. 8 years ago. That's not bad, really. 8 years ago, and we've had Octopath 2 and Octopath 0 since then. They do. Indeed. Because that is all we have time for this week. If you like the video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so kept in the loop of all fantastic content here at GamerGuildTV. If you want to stay in the loop, follow us on our socials. Links are in the description below, as is our Discord, which is hopefully fixed. We do have a store as well. I'm wearing a bloody t-shirt. I'm wearing the GamerGuild Podcast t-shirt. Buy one of them. Yeah. Indeed. Well, again, thank you for the 6,000 people who've subscribed so far. Let's aim for 7,000 next month. Yeah. Realistically, do you think 10k could be on this year? We've gone 3,000 this in a few months. Yeah. Let's see if we can do it. Like, in about 6 months, we've got about 3,000 subs. We have to beat it, but it's coming home. GG, everyone. Goodbye.